Week 9 Hockey Sense topic is on goal scoring, and continuing on that theme, we're going to look at a different scenario today. So we're going to look at point shots, and this is for both defensemen and forwards. So regardless of what position you play, we're going to talk about how both the defenseman and the forward can play these point shot situations to give yourself the best chance of scoring goals. We're going to start by looking at a similar study to the one that we referenced the last couple of weeks with Josh Andrews. We're going to look at a study from 2016-17 season from the Ontario Minor Hockey Association. And they broke down where goals were scored in relation to the distance away from the net and what type of shots happened for those goals to be scored. We're specifically just going to look at the distance away from the net. So they broke it down from the goal to 10 feet away, 10 to 20 feet, 20 to 30, and so on. So these two areas here, 40 to 60 feet away from the net, are the point shot areas that we're talking about today. And as you can see by these two numbers here, only 12% of the goals are scored from point shots. So does that mean we should never take point shots? It's not a high percentage. Does that mean that we're not going to score from out there? No, not necessarily. It means that we have to be smart about the shots that we take from out there to try to create as many goals as possible. Just because there's only 12% scored from out here, if we look at the goal to 20 feet away from the net, now we've got 55% of the goals. So if we think about that logically, if we're not going to score from out here, how can we get pucks into this area where there's 55% of the goals scored? And so we call that facilitating scoring. We're going to take point shots that are smart, that are going to create goals. So our mindset is we're going to create goals, not necessarily score off those shots. And I want to remind you of two quotes we looked at last week when talking about rebounds. Josh Andrews said a shot from the outside can be very dangerous if you are not shooting to score. And we could replace this word from the outside with a shot from the point can be very dangerous if you are not shooting to score. Same with Ken Hitchcock's quote. We could replace that with a shot from the point is for the team. Shots from the inside can be for you. So some keys to point shots. Talk about lanes. You've heard that since the beginning. If you're a defenseman, since you start playing the position, find a lane. Get the puck to the net. It's very important. We're going to look at what type of lanes are the best shooting lanes. We're going to look at screens. We're going to look at that from a defenseman's perspective. How can you use a screen to your advantage? We're going to look at forwards. How do we best screen? And lastly, we're going to look at deflections, similar to what we saw last week. Now, I want to be clear that in these clips, I'm not saying that defensemen cannot score from the point. There's a time when that's the best play, but there's other times when you can create opportunities for your team to score if you're not going to score from your original shot. So we'll look at a few examples. This first one, I'll let it play a win face-off shot, and the goalie easily stopped that one and covered it up. So we have a question here on the screen, a wide open shooting lane. So often we're told find a lane. And in that last clip, the defenseman found a lane, got the puck to the net. A wide open shooting lane equals an easy save for the goalie. Keep that in mind. If the goalie can see it, he can stop it. So I'll let this play. There's nobody at the net. It's a wide open shooting lane, easy save, and coverage for the goalie. So what is the best type of lane? If it's not a wide open lane where you can get the puck through, what's the best type of lane to shoot? We're going to look at a couple examples. So here's one. Puck moves to the point. Here we have a screen. We've actually got a double screen because the offensive player is trying to get to the net. The defenseman here is trying to box out the forward. And by doing so, he's actually just creating a double screen for the goalie. And you'll see it better on the other example. This is one where the defenseman scores. And it's a very intelligent goal. I'll let it play. He shoots. He scores on the far side. So we'll analyze this a little bit. The puck goes up. This is not as wide of a shooting lane as the first one. The easy shooting lane for this defenseman would be somewhere along here. He's got the forward that's coming out to block the shot is not even close to in the lane, so he's got lots of room to get this puck through. But instead of taking the easy shot in the lane, he's going to shoot through a very small lane. It's just off this guy's shoulder here, and just off this guy's shoulder through there to the far side. And why does he pick that lane, and why does he shoot to score in this situation? Well, the forward is doing a great job. He's engaged with their defenseman, so he's creating that double screen. He's on top of the net, and he knows he's forcing the goalie to look this way. How often do we think about this as a forward screening? What side of the net is the goalie looking on? And as a defenseman, how often do we look at the goalie's head? If he's looking over this shoulder, and that defenseman shoots the puck here, he tracks it and he saves it. Instead, the defenseman is going to shoot to the opposite side that the goalie is looking, so he loses the puck. That's a good screen and a good smart shot from the defenseman, and an opportunity where he can shoot to score. And we'll look at a different scenario here. This is on the power play. Puck moves up, shot, and rebound. So we talked about this last week. Shots with screens or that get tipped, if they don't go in, there's a good chance they create a rebound because the goalie is quickly reacting just to make the save and can't necessarily control that rebound and where it goes. So shot, rebound, and a goal. We'll look at this from the reverse angle here and get a really good clear picture. So if we look between these two forwards here, this defenseman could easily walk to the middle and shoot through a lane there. Shoot through a big lane. Instead, he stops right there and he creates a really small shooting lane for himself, which is a better lane because it allows both of the offensive guys to get into screen positions. It also allows the defenseman to use these guys as screens as well. When we're looking at the forward perspective of this, we want to have layered screens. We don't necessarily need two guys right down at the net. This is called a layered screen. You've got one high tip option around the slot, and the other guy who's battling here is down trying to get to the front of the net. A layered screen is great. It's hard to look around for the goalie. It gives multiple tip options, as we saw there, and it also gives depth on a rebound. So not just the first guy, if it bounces out past him, now the second guy can push in from the slot to get that rebound. Here's another example, a quick shot right from a face-off, a tip, and a rebound goal. Watch this one again. So again, a very, very small shooting lane. The player does not walk so that he can shoot through a big avenue through here. Instead, he shoots through a very small lane. And what do we have by the forwards again? A layered screen. High screen, low screen, sticks available for tips. He finds the rebound. And lastly here, we're going to look at a famous example, because we've seen many examples of this situation before. Chris Letang shooting, Sidney Crosby tipping it in. And so as defensemen, we ask ourselves the question, what are we shooting for from the point? Are we shooting to score like the first example? Are we shooting through a screen? Are we shooting for a tip? Now in this example, and this is a play that these two guys use all the time, Chris Letang's actually going to miss the net. He's going to intentionally put the puck wide of the net because he's aiming for Sidney Crosby's stick. And Crosby's so good, Letang knows if he can hit his stick, there's a good chance he scores. So that's what you see there. And we'll watch here the start of the clip. So here's a shot earlier on, a few seconds before, where the player shot to score. Not a great shot. He didn't shoot to facilitate scoring. He shot to score from the outside, high and wide over the net. Now as it comes around, okay, what allows this play to happen, there's a shot and a tip from Crosby, is Letang is using the defender as a screen. We saw that a couple weeks ago in our topic. He uses the defenseman as a screen so that the goalie now is frozen. He misses the net intentionally because he's aiming for Crosby's stick, which is where the tip happens. So it's important to remember that mindset when you're shooting from the outside. As we saw in the last few weeks, shots from the outside can be very dangerous, but you need to know how to make them dangerous. Whether that's shooting through defensemen as a screen, whether it's shooting for rebounds off pads, shooting for sticks, for tips, and sometimes the best shots are the ones that have a very small lane. You're not shooting through a big avenue where the goalie can see the puck. You're shooting through a small lane, trying to create those rebounds, tips, or direct shots if the goalie is looking an opposite way.